After 8 hours, Hurricane George wound down. Luckily, their home had little damage, but they did gain a new respect for the power of a hurricane.
If I knew that it was going to be the same strength as Hurricane George, I would stay there. If I had any thoughts that it might go over that, I would leave, because that was just about as much as I could handle.
Hurricane George was a Category 2 hurricane with winds over 100 miles an hour.
I mean, in a major hurricane or a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, the Florida Keys, for the most part, will be completely underwater. And those people will be killed if they're standing there by those flotilla home docks, as they were in some of the hurricanes in the last few years. So absolutely, I think a lot of people don't realize how dangerous it can really be in major hurricanes.
I was totally amazed at the power of the hurricane. Never, ever, ever. There's nothing to compare it to. I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. It was just phenomenal.
Mark and Megan were lucky to be on land. Not so William McQueen. He rode out Hurricane Luis in 1995 on his boat in St. Martin Harbor.
Yep, he's in trouble now, boys. Big one missed him. Boy, is he lucky. He's sitting on that little guy's anchor. What a mess.
The same storm transformed the Prom family's summer vacation on St. Martin.
Oh, man. Got some damage. Wind's got to be in excess of 100 miles an hour. Big wave. See that one coming in? That's a big wave. That was right. A roof just blew off that building over there, and the surf is eating it up now.
In the early evening, the eye passed over them. The wind changed direction.
Now we've got the 140-mile winds coming at us. I'm looking through a pane of glass about ready to blow. I think I'm going to get there.
Sometimes in a hurricane, you're just as likely to drown on land as you are at sea. That's next.
Storm week is...
The devastation that we witnessed there was just, awesome.
It's the winds of a hurricane that people are afraid of. But it should be the flooding, like in Hurricane Floyd.
Now, Floyd was a very major hurricane when it was offshore, but it actually made landfall as a much weaker hurricane, so the impact on the coast wasn't that great. But nevertheless, it did produce torrential rains and flooding and a lot of damage that way.
We got a call about 10 o'clock that night that the flooding had grown much more widespread. It was rising rapidly, and that there were hundreds and hundreds of people stranded on tops of houses, barns, and in trees that were needing immediate rescue.
Survivors have dramatic stories to tell. Dr. Harry Fish and his wife Josephine were asleep as floodwaters knocked down their door.
But we never thought of water coming in the house because we'd never had that before, even with bad storms that we'd had. So we just thought, well, but we didn't hear it. When we went to bed that night, there was a little wind, and we could hear just a little rain, and we thought, well, this won't be nearly as bad as they say it is.
But it was. All across eastern North Carolina, people needed to be rescued.
I noticed about a quarter of a mile away there were some tractor trailers at an intersection, and it looked like they were pretty much in danger. They were surrounded by water, and the water looked to be moving rather rapidly.
We noticed that there was a driver in the first truck, and he was just staring at us. The other driver, as soon as we pulled up to the truck, decided that he was getting out then and there and making obvious that he wanted to get out of there. The water was rising rapidly.
They rescued both drivers, but their night had just begun. On the ground, Harry and Josephine Fish had their own problems.
Really, it was frightening. It was one of those things where you looked at the water and you thought, don't believe this. This can't be happening. We're getting out of here. See the watermark right there, and that's 9 feet. And the entire bottom of the house was to that point, all the inside.
They scrambled to an upstairs balcony.
We came right down here because the boat was right at this corner, right here, and we went right over the side. I remember putting my foot on that side and then stepping right down in the boat.
As they were stepping to safety, the Coast Guard was staying busy.
Before we even got towards the area where the people needed rescue, we would find, 10, 20, 30 people en route to the rescue area that need rescue.
Over 300 people were plucked out of the water that night by helicopter. Many more were rescued by boat. Among the lucky ones, Harry and Josephine Fish. They escaped, but their home was destroyed, uninhabitable. They had lost everything.
But we realized that losing all that was not too bad because we all had each other. Make you realize that certain things are important and certain things are not.
The rescues carried on well into the next day, and people weren't the only ones suffering. Veterinarians Bobby Hicks and Ann McGowan got a call from their colleague Bobby Sherwood. Animals were trapped and drowning at a clinic.
That's when my husband said, well, get your clothes on, we're going to go. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm not going to leave those animals drown. So we put our clothes on, and he got the canoe, and we came down to Rocky Mount.
We were amazed. We couldn't believe the water. I've lived here all my life, and we've seen flooding in the Tar River a lot, but nothing compared to this. As you got closer to that, it was really hard to even paddle the canoe, so we would pull ourselves along. We finally got up to the veterinary hospital. Couldn't open the door.
They broke a window to get inside. The animals were trapped in their cages with only 2 inches of air left.
I took 2 of the smaller dogs and put them up in these runs, and then those 2 bigger dogs, like Willie, I put up here on top.
But how could they move them? It was too dangerous to put them in their small canoe. They had to get a bigger boat, and they had very little time.
The water was rising so fast, about every 20 minutes it was going up about an inch. So at that rate, we were scared that before we got out and back that we were going to find them, dead too.
That's when they got lucky. Others showed up with boats and saved many of the animals, but not all.
It was just like a dream. We absolutely couldn't believe it. I think we were shocked because I looked back at the movie where we were smiling, and inside our hearts were broken.
Hurricane Floyd caused many broken hearts in eastern North Carolina.
Just the devastation. You can see it on TV all the time, and when you turn the TV off, it's gone. But when you're in it, it just goes on and on and on.
When we come back,
and eventually the sliding glass door shattered, and we had a hurricane just ripping through the house.
their remarkable story of survival is next.